Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me. In today's video, I'm excited to share with you a beautifully imitative winged caddis fly pattern. So I'm going to be using Togens dry fly barbless hooks in size 10, Semperfli classic wax thread in rusty brown 12-aught, Semperfli's dirty bug yarn in olive caddis, some Whiting Farms hackle, this is natural brown, as well as some yellow grizzly, and some Nature's Spirit pheasant tail. I'm using 2 strands of this, and some flank feathers as well from a pheasant to create the really cool winged effect. For the eyes, some Trilene Big Game 20-pound monofilament, Golf Flexmen to add some durability to that wing as well. So in my neck of the woods, we're right smack dab in the middle of summer. So these caddis flies are everywhere on our local still waters. This pattern, it's a little bit more of a technical tie, but give it a rewatch or 2 if you need to hone up and practice your skills. It gives you some great techniques to play around with hackle if you're not familiar with that. And I promise you, if you get these patterns in a couple of different sizes, you're going to have some pretty incredible days on the water. So I'll start out by stripping about a 6-inch piece of Semperfli's dirty bug yarn, and I'll tie that in as well as a strand of that yellow grizzly hackle. I do strip the one side of the hackle. If you're looking at the shiny side of the hackle, it's going to be the left portion, the left fibers there. So strip that back. It's going to create a much cleaner hackle as you wrap it up. And this dirty bug yarn, this is beautiful stuff to work with. We got dubbing on a rope, basically. And it's a mottled color, so you got a little bit of yellow, olive green, some brown in there. And it looks very lifelike, similar representation to a lot of the caddises in my local waters. You can brush it out, tease it out a little bit if you need, make it super buggy. And then here we're going to go ahead and wrap this hackle, leaving a little space in between each of those wraps. And then what I like to do when I am about to tie this in, I take with my tweezers, or if you're nimble enough, you can use your fingers, and just pull a few of those fibers out so you have a blank stem of that hackle feather, and then it ties in really nicely. You're not catching too many of those fibers, makes it pretty clean. Not the end of the world if you do catch some of those. The buggier the better on this pattern. And then we're going to go ahead and trim this at about a 45-degree angle there and get a nice little ramp there, because that's where that wing is going to live. So at that point, that looks pretty good there. I'm just going to wrap a little bit of the end there. And here we've prepared on a piece of Scotch tape a pheasant flank feather. You can adhere that to the sticky part of the tape, and then I coat it with Golf Flexmen resin, and then give that a cure, and then you cut it out to a kind of a very pointy heart shape, and you can have fun with designing that depending on what length of hook you're using. I'll tie this one in with the tip hanging out a little bit, and then I fold that tip back and wrap that with thread to make it ultra durable so that it doesn't slip out on you. And then select 2 strands of the pheasant tail fiber. This is Nature's Spirit stuff. It's beautiful pheasant tails that they always provide. And then go ahead and lock the butt section of those fibers forward so that they don't pull out on you. That looks pretty happy right there. Here we're going to create some monofilament eyes. So select some 20-pound test. You just need a couple centimeters of this in your tweezers. Nip that away, burn the end of it, and it's going to turn into a really lifelike looking set of mono eyes, very small for this pattern. And then I always give it a couple of wraps while it's still in the tweezer. That way you're not chasing it all over your fly tying desk. And then we'll go ahead and get that seated properly where we want it. And then some figure 8 wraps with your thread. We'll lock that into place on the top part of the hook. That's looking pretty good right there. And then with your thread, you can go ahead and cover up where you're going to be placing the last bit of hackle here. Again, we've stripped off the left side of this hackle. So then as you wrap the hackle up, it lays nice and flat and perpendicular to your hook shank. And then when I tie these in, I strip a little bit of the end off. We'll tie the thread in front and behind, and then wrap up the stem to conceal that. Give it a securing whip finish. And what's nice here is you've cleaned up and prepared that hackle so that in theory you start with a nice perpendicular wrap, and those fibers should stand up on end, and the stem will be against the fly itself, and those fibers then are close touching wraps, but hopefully you're not catching too many of those fibers as you wrap forward. The fish don't really care, but heck, since we're doing this, might as well make it as professionally looking as we can. And then go ahead and behind those eyes here, we're just going to tie in that hackle, give it a securing whip finish. You can add a tiny speck of resin to the top of the eyes there to hold that thread, and then trim away the extra little bit of hackle and your thread. And then I like to use my scissors, and you can form these front antennae till your heart's content. A lot of the naturals have more of a straight antenna, but for the artistic look here, I like adding a little bit of a curl to them. And there you have it, guys. The winged caddis fly. A little bit of a technical tie, but take your time with it. Rewatch this video if you need. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the waters.